Welcome back to Sonic Colors. Part 2 will be covering Sweet Mountain.
Hooray! As I say, this music we're listening to now is called the world map, and it's performed like all the orchestral music in the game. It's actually performed by the Amsterdam Sessions Orchestra, which I imagine that they went to Amsterdam because that orchestra is cheaper than the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra they used for Unleashed. But for my money, all of the orchestral music in this game is better than the orchestral music in Unleashed.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me at least, the theme of Sonic Colors, the 4-minute orchestral track that played in the credits, is just miles better than the World Adventure.
As you're seeing here, there's multiple paths through the levels you can take, and it's just such a refreshing change of pace compared to the other linear 3D Sonic games.
Like, that was my biggest problem with Unleashed. Both versions of the game, you know, Wii and HD, is that literally you can just go forward, and that's it, you know, and pretty much occasionally you can go on an above layer or below layer, but pretty much you're just running forward and boosting for the entire level.
Is that drift you dislike, Gareth?
Yeah, that actually, to me, it does. I will say this about Unleashed: the drift and Unleashed handled better than that did.
This is used with the B button and control stick, I believe, whereas with Unleashed, at least in the 360 version, you could use the triggers. I've only ever played this game with the GameCube controller. I use the classic controller. I cannot use the Wiimote and nunchuck at all. For some reason, I just can't control it.
I tried it once using the Wiimote, holding it on its side, like how you would play Secret Rings or 4 on the Wii. But yeah, to me, just the GameCube controller is just better.
The drill has such a bombastic track. It's just amazing.
It just sounds like something you'd hear at like a techno nightclub. Just boom, 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 boom. Sweet Mountain, what we're listening to here, the entire Sweet Mountain, all three. Normally what happens is that when a composer would do a world, they would do all 3 acts. Because each world, even though there's 6 levels, there's only 3 different music tracks per world, and they're just remixes of each other. This world is by Kenichi Toko. Please forgive my extremely poor Japanese pronunciation there. He's actually the sound director for the game. A lot of people thought it was Tomoyo Otani because he does most of the music. I mean, he did the music for both songs. He does most of the levels. He does all of the drill music. But it's actually Kenichi Toki who's probably most well known for stuff like he wrote the melody for Knuckles' theme in SA1 and the Werehog Battle theme. He's been basically with the franchise since SA1 and done so many memorable tracks. I mean, I think this is his first game as sound director, and if it is, I want him to come back as more, because this is one of the best scores I've ever heard.
God damn, I hate those trick bumpers.
Bastards. Again, I remember when video footage of this first came out, I remember everyone thought it was hysterical that this giant rocket releases jelly beans.
I think it's all to do with the tone of the game. It's much lighter, it doesn't take itself as seriously.
Exactly, this is like as far away from 06 as you can possibly get. And what you're seeing there is pretty much the Colors version of the QuickTime events in Unleashed, which I hate those. And to me, just simply tapping A over and over again is easy. And I like it, because I'm bad at games, and if it's easy, if I can just press one button to get the same effect as pressing 6 buttons, I'll choose the 1 button option, because I'm a lazy bastard.
And again, compared to Unleashed, if you don't press A, the worst that I think happens, most of the time anyway, is you'll just take a hit. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, well, pretty much, if you get all of them, occasionally you get transported to, like, you know, a higher tier, you know, quote unquote the better tier. But yeah, I think there may be 1 or 2 examples, but I don't think you die if you miss any of the of those.
Maybe in the later levels like Asteroid Coaster, but
I think probably Asteroid Coaster probably is 1 or 2. And I love the map music. I think is just amazing. The map music is by Maroko Namba, who is, again, he's done a lot of quality work. I think probably some of his best themes, people recognise him from Kingdom Valley and White Acropolis from 06.
White Acropolis, no. Kingdom Valley, yes.
I like White Acropolis. You know, it sounded like techno music in the snow. It was awesome.
Oh god, the slap guitar on this is yes.
Yes, it's so funky. I mean, this is, I think, Kenichi Toko, I think what he said is that he wanted to produce a soundtrack that was kind of more jazzy. So because I think some people, I think if you read most reviews of Sonic games, quite a few people don't like the music. They class it as like quote unquote butt rock. I fucking love the music in Sonic games, you know. I'm a big Crash 40 whore. To me, I could listen to them all the time. I mean, I can kind of understand that sometimes. And so what I like about this soundtrack is that it's still Sonic-y, but it's not as, you know, hardcore rock as some of the others are. I mean, with the exception of Asteroid Coaster, of course.
That goes for a more adventure kind of rock, though.
Exactly. When the first trailer came out featuring the Asteroid Coaster music, everyone thought that was Jun Senoi because it sounded so much like something he would have possibly wrote from SA1.
That's what you get with every Sonic soundtrack these days, though. Was it composed by Jun Senoi?
And that burger looks glorious.
Well, this was Sweet Mountain.
Like, again, this is what levels like this. I think in terms of extremely unique Sonic levels, this and Music Plant from Advance 2 stand out as some of the more ingenious like concepts for a level.
This is actually one of my favourite worlds in the game, along with like Planet Wisp.
I remember Carrie was saying that this reminded her of, isn't there like a cake level in Galaxy?
Oh, it's probably Sweet Sweet Galaxy or something.
That's the one. Yeah, I remember she said it was. I remember, I was playing this once with her, and after about 5 minutes of me playing Sweet Mountain, she was like, "I want to get a burger. Let's go." I was like, because it makes me hungry watching these. It is. Again, just look at the design. It's adorable. Look at it all. I love it.
It's just a feel-good game, is what it is.
Exactly. Which most people who reviewed it, you know, loved it. I think I don't think it got any. Oh, apart from was it Destructoid's 4.5 review, which
no comment.
Exactly. You know, I'm not trying to say that everyone has to like this game. I'm not. You know, if you don't like it, fair enough. What I'm saying is I can't see. I mean, I can possibly see how you wouldn't necessarily love it, but to give this a 4.5, I don't get that. Oh well, nerd rage over with.
Now on my blind run, I actually took a route which led me to that grind rail up there. It's just, you can take, there's like 2, maybe 3 alternative paths through the level, and it's just glorious. It adds a lot of replayability.
Something I never understood is how slow Sonic can just glide down here.
Fuck physics.
It's like his knuckles. But again, for me, using the Wisps just to hear the announcer, I love it. Rockets!
Rocket! Probably my least favourite of the Wisps.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... I'd say that it's probably the blandest. In terms of the Wisps, of course, the DS version... Well, the Wii and the DS version kind of share most of the Wisps, but each version of the game has 2 exclusives. The Wii version has Spike and Hover, and the DS has Burst and Void. Burst is pretty much, remember in Sonic 3 the flame shield,
oh, yeah.
how you could like do like a fireball. It's pretty much how you can do a continuous fireball over and over and over again.
And Void lets you travel through walls and suck up stuff like a black hole.
Yeah, pretty much. Void basically turns you into, you know, a space where you just can fly around, and it's kind of like Frenzy. The more enemies you suck in, the bigger you get.
Now, just to show changes in the level design and whatnot in colours, that would have usually been a bottomless pit in other Sonic games.
Exactly, and it's just small things like, you know, when you're about to hit a bottomless pit, it gives you a little sign.
Right, if you've got navigator mode turned on anyway.
Oh yeah. For a second, I'll just talk about the DS version. The DS version, because it's pretty much Sonic Rush 3. You know, which in my opinion isn't a bad thing because I love the Rush games, but you know, it's 2D. You still have all the same worlds, but they're broken down into just 2 acts with a boss fight. But in those worlds, there's 2 secret levels or like mission-based levels, and in those ones, that's when you meet all the different characters.
Yeah, it's weird. They like heard the criticism that people only want Sonic and whatnot, and shoved all the extra side characters into the DS version.
Well, some people view DS as like some people like to view it as a alternate version of Colors' story. Some people like to view it as a more expanded version of Colors' story. Pretty much in all those different levels, you meet every character, and that is also where a lot of the new voices were heard for certain characters. Because I mean, certain characters who don't appear in Free Riders, like the rest of the Chaotix and Big, appear in the story mode for Colors DS.
Blazer's there as well, which is pretty cool, essentially making it Sonic Rush 3.
Exactly, and so is Silver there, which just creates more further time travel.
That doesn't make any sense. I came back in time to see this bitchin' theme park.
Exactly, there's...
We don't have theme parks in my time. Exactly. All the flames burn them to the ground.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense though, because in his future now, that doesn't happen.
We're just not good at building theme parks.
Plot holes! whenever I actually have the soundtrack in my car, and I love bursting out Sweet Mountain as I drive around. This makes me feel like I'm a pimp in the 70s.
You're such a nerd, Gareth.
I know. Well, I think I used to drive around to Plant Kingdom in my car, and yeah, I've had people just say that they don't want to drive with me anymore because I play Plant Kingdom.
We can't be seen with you anymore.
It's like, yeah, whenever we drive past people today, just duck their heads down like in The Simpsons. Now, what did you think of like the platforming like this? It's a lot slower paced than we used to in 3D Sonic games. How did you react to it, Tom?
I quite like it. It's a nice change of pace.
What you just saw there was a empty purple Wisp box, and obviously these boxes here are obviously intended for Frenzy much later on in the game. I love the fact that they designed the levels with replayability built in, because you know obviously you go back if you want S ranks, obviously, because your S ranks are determined in this more on Wisp uses rather than like rings or time. So the more you use Wisps, the greater your score is, the more likely you are to get an S rank. So basically, coming back to all these levels, you can do like, you know, Frenzy and Sweet Mountain once you unlock him.
I believe red rings add a lot to your score as well.
Yeah, I remember reading, I think it was Azuka, said that, you know, while the Wisps are a part of the game, you don't necessarily have to. I mean, obviously there are certain points where you have to, but in terms of vital usage of the Wisp, it's actually quite minimal. I mean, like, they don't really force Wisps on you in this game, which I thought was you know, incredibly well, you know, was a nice idea.
I mean, look at Tropical Resort. You can get through that like using a laser maybe once or twice.
Exactly, because I think, you know, because what Sonic Team said, because you know they said that they looked back at all the negatives of past games and they wanted to fix stuff like that. So that's why you know, they said once again we're giving you a game with just Sonic, which I'm kind of getting sick of that. You using that as something the fans want, because we've had Sonic only games since Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's not necessarily a new thing anymore. But they said that they wanted to fix it in the sense that there's no gimmicks in like the Werehog or like having a sword. So I mean, you can technically call the Wisps a gimmick, but it's more a throwback to like the element shields in 3 and K.
Yeah.
Which I remember some person made a post on a forum, which, and I'll actually here is a spot for the blue cube Wisp, where some people thought that they were using Wisps to test out certain things about like alternate character plays, like say like the hover kind of acts like, say, Tails' flight. Spike kind of works like Knuckles climbing up a wall.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my blind run actually.
Yeah, something like that, which I think is quite interesting really, because you know I know in Generations we're just getting Sonic and Classic Sonic, and you know that's fine, but I hope someday they give us like Tails, you know, in 3D again, because I freaking love Tails.
Or Knuckles in 3D.
Exactly.
Really cool.
Yeah, exactly those two. But you know, I want them good, not you know, treasure hunting or stuck in a shooting machine.
Down in Pumpkin Hill, gotta find my lost pieces and so on.
Death chamber, death chamber.
It is a death chamber.
I love these kind of like weird lollipops that throw you around. Also, kind of similarly to Molten Mine in Black Knight, I love the sun effects in this level. Just the way like the sun sets like behind like the giant burger. Just the visuals in this game were amazing. Do you remember when this first came out? A lot of people were kind of comparing it to HD games like 06. Oh, for my money, this looks maybe not as good as HD Unleashed, but this is definitely a better looking game than 06.
I just can't get over the fact that you described the level as the way the sun sets behind the giant burger.
You know, this is because again, this goes back to the kind of. Well, if you go back to the Mega Drive games, Sonic 1 and 2, especially Sonic 1 and Blaze, it has a really surreal level design. I mean, when it got to like 3 and K, the designs became slightly more naturalistic, like they stopped having weird shit in the background. But to me, this kind of evokes the Mega Drive, you know, level. Tom, we aren't visiting Game Land, are we?
No, we're not.
So I think I should just say this now. In Game Land, I think there's 7 different levels, and each level has a couple of acts. The first act of every of those levels is based. The level design is based on. It's actually just stolen from the Sonic 1 level. So like the Game Land 1, Game Land, you know, Zone 1 Act 1 is Green Hill Zone Act 1, and so on and so forth. Which I thought was a really nice thing.
And an interesting thing that both me and Gareth found out before we started recording this, you can actually combine Wisps in the multiplayer mode.
I haven't played multiplayer with another person yet, but yeah, I want to try that out.
Drill, what was it? Drill
It was
Hover?
Drill Hover, which is awesome.
This was in a PokeCapin's Let's Play, of course.
So something I'll just say, based for the on the official US website for Sonic Colors, they give each world like a kind of description, and I didn't say it last time, but Tropical Resorts one is the opening stage of Sonic Colors. The green paradise with lush vegetation is the world's entry into the planetary theme park. Sweet Mountain is a world set high above the cloud. Feast your eyes on the delicious world of Sweet Mountain, surrounded by lollipops and tasty treats. This is a world to remember. That line was quoted a lot. Experience has taught me to investigate anything that glows. This is the first of the music tracks. Calls these things the Sugar Armada, which I think is a hilarious name, because you know. I love Sonic's look there. You just can't believe how much of an idiot Eggman is. So Tom, stuff like the humour like in this cutscene, how did you react to this?
It's okay when it's toned down like this, but when it gets really cringeworthy, I'm practically on the floor going.
See, I'm the other way. Like I think all the cutscenes you hate are the ones that are my favourite.
Well, that's just how I roll.
Now, the boss of Sweet Mountain in this version, this boss is actually called Captain Jelly.
What?
Exactly. On the DS version, it's called Candy Beard. I love this track though.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Doom ships from Mario 3.
Yes, it's like a really, really easy, crappy version of the Doom ships from Mario 3. Tom, do you want to talk about the later rehash bosses, or do you want to wait until we get to one of those?
We'll wait. I will say this, if you manage to find a drill wisp in one of the cannonballs on the way here, you can do 2 hits to the boss instead of the regular 1, and you'll move on to the next phase instantly.
The DS bosses, they're kind of different from the versions, except I haven't played the DS version in a while, but I think these ones are the most similar. Because I know the boss when you fight the big boy, the Ferris wheel boss is you know, it plays a lot differently on the DS version.
The big boy's back.
Yeah. You think you're so smart, robot? You handle this. Release the big boy.
In many ways, sir, the big boy's never left.
Wow. I was really something I want to mention that before this came out, there was a manga, a Sonic Colors manga that came out. And there's actually a bit in that where it's quite different. The story plays out quite differently than it does in the game. But there's a bit at the beginning where Sonic basically gives Cubot a massive boot to the face. But that's about a second before Yaka punches Sonic in the face.
Right.
It's extremely look it up. I think the Sonic Stadium on the forum has some translations of it. It's really quite. And Eggman looks surprisingly scary in his design, but it's quite funny to read.
He's out there.
So long, bitch. I love how that little robot causes a massive explosion. Now, where is Eggman making pirate ships? You think after Rush Adventure, he would have just given up his pirate obsession?
Don't talk to me about Rush Adventure, Gareth.
It's not a bad game.
It's a fucking shit game, is what it is.
I will say this: what did the results music? Is that one thing I love about this game is that the orchestral theme is actually just an orchestral version of the Reach for the Stars melody.
That'll play again in the end thing, which I won't talk about right now.
Best boss beating ever. So, like, a lot of people criticize the fact that in this game, like, Sonic appears way overly cocky and arrogant than he did in previous games. My reaction to that is just, he's meant to be that way. Just previous games have just given him an extremely bland character.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like in 06, for example, not the best example, but roll with it. He's just like, I have to save Elise because she's in danger. And, you know, even in Unleashed, I have to save the planet because it's in danger. But yeah, I get what you mean. I much prefer cocky Sonic. And just one last little bit of trivia. You actually get the choice of playing Sweet Mountain or Starlight Carnival after you beat Tropical Resort. So this scene can actually play out in 2 ways. If you play Sweet Mountain first, as we have, obviously you'll get the nice sunset type background. If you play Starlight Carnival first, the background will be filled with like the fleet of ships and sparkly starry sky and whatnot.
And using it for an evil aquatic mammal? An evil dolphin?
That sounds like a joke that I would make. God.
Oh,
Imagine that, me writing for the Sonic games. I think the day the Sonic games get an N-Tom script is the day that N-Tom actually stops playing Sonic games, you know what I'm saying? That's all the time we have for Sweet Mountain. Please join us next time for the Starlight Carnival. See you then.